Pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose.
How you doing this morning, Jared?
Man, I feel great. I feel really, really good, man. I think it goes back to I have to be challenged. I have to be learning personality. Andrea and I were walking yesterday, and she's like, dude, like every 4 years, you just want to like redo everything. And so I feel really good, man. I'm working on my Spanish. I'm working on my writing. I just feel like I'm immersed in like learning, which is weird because I never really liked school, but I really like learning.
Nice. Good, man.
How are you doing, my friend?
Man, we got to get on the same page, man. I feel like we keep imbalancing each other. I'm a little frustrated with myself today, man. I forgot to take my picture for 75 hard yesterday.
Oh.
So I got to start over, man. I woke up at 4 a.m. like it was a bad dream. Like, oh, did I forget to take my picture? And then I checked my phone. I was like, oh my God, I didn't take it.
What were you on, like day 15?
Yeah, at 14. And then it's funny, man, because I had the thought. I took a pic at 4 a.m, and I was like, man, fuck this. Like I can just keep on going with this. And then I thought about the man in the glass, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it, man. So day one.
Dude, I've tried it twice. I think I made it to 46 or 47 the first time, and I think I told you we're coming back from the fights.
Oh, that's right.
And I had one more workout to go, and it was 11:45 at night, and I was like, okay, well, I could do this, but it technically doesn't end till tomorrow. And then I was like, I'm out.
Well, in the updated Andy Frisella, he said, I know some people have crazy schedules and maybe work night shifts or whatever. So for like it ends when you go to sleep. Yeah, like when you go to sleep, the day is over.
Technicalities,
yeah. Dang. I know, right? Yeah, but it's tough, man, and it's a good reminder of like just the details. I mean, it's a damn progress pic. You know what I'm saying? I could have easily just been like, whatever. I recorded a video of myself. Like I could have counted that, but I forgot the specific task.
Yeah.
And it was just like, man, no, I'm going to get this 100%. It's now I'm starting to get a little pissed at it. I'm like, I'm going to get this damn challenge.
If everything else going on in the world didn't have you a little questioning and fired up with things, now this adds to it.
Right. Yeah. And then Ramadan for me. So this episode probably won't release. We're way ahead, but right now is yesterday was 420, national cannabis holiday, and a super busy day for us, our busiest weekend of the year. And then Ramadan starts here on the 23rd. So it's going to be 75 ultra hard, man. I'm going to have to accomplish everything without eating and drinking during daylight hours.
Yeah, that's true. Well, fourth time's the charm, bro. Is it 4 or 3?
Fourth time.
That's why it's called 75 fucking hard, man. It ain't 75 super easy. It's not 75 sit on your couch and do nothing.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, man. It's harder than I thought. So I got my reminder now every evening at 8 p.m. to checklist.
You are a man of reminders.
I need them. Apparently, I need them.
Yeah, dude. I appreciate you getting after it and always holding yourself accountable and making yourself better. And our energy's funny, dude, because like last week I was like, oh man, and you were like, no, I'm fired up. Now this week it's flipped. So I think that's what we balance each other out and continue to move forward, my friend.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I think I can probably learn a thing or two from our guest today about staying hard.
Man, our first UFC fighter.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's good, and it's funny because I've known him for quite a while. As he was, honestly, I felt like I'd known him since he was growing up because I think I met him as a teenager. So to see him get to that level is pretty, and to know where he comes from is pretty humbling. So I'm excited to get him on here and share his story.
All right, On Purpose community, we have a really special guest today, Mr. Ryan MacDonald, aka Main Event Mac. He is a 10-2 professional MMA fighter out of North Platte, Nebraska, and he's also a coach and gym owner over at 6'9" One-on-One MMA. He's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu and a former UFC fighter, and he is also a committed man to his woman named Bobby, also in a relationship. And he is with us today to share his purposeful story. How you doing this morning, Ryan?
Doing awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
That's funny.
Yeah.
He's so humble. He puts former UFC fighter at the bottom of all his things. Like, I mean, think about like how many people actually ever make it to that level is pretty remarkable. And for you, Ryan, like we were talking off air about when I first met you and how long ago back. I remember watching you on the come up forever, and you were definitely North Platte's like pride. Like there was so much. Every time I got to come out there and watch you fight, you could just feel how proud they were to see somebody from their, they could identify you with you. It wasn't this star here. There was somebody from their hometown making it to that level. So first off, congratulations, my friend. And you definitely deserved everything you got in that ride.
Thank you so much.
So before we jump into your purpose of stuff, Ryan, we got to kind of treat this like a warm up. And you shared that your back's a little banged up because you didn't warm up properly yesterday. So we're not going to do that to you today. We're not going to hurt you today, man. So we got to warm you up a little bit, Ryan, before we get to the heavy stuff. So, all right, Ryan, you get one food for the rest of your life. What are you taking with you?
Oh, man. Probably have to be something Italian, either pizza or pasta.
Oh, that's a good one. That's good.
For sure.
I remember.
I'm sure that's
Go ahead.
pretty common. I'm sure that's pretty common with fighters. That's normally what we go to after refeeding,
Honestly, on this podcast, nothing is common. That's one thing we've determined. We've had peanut butter. We've had grilled chicken.
I think we had one pizza.
Yeah.
But it was a specific pizza, like a Green Hatch chili buffalo chicken pizza or something like that.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, but I do remember in North Platte, I remember one time we were out there, Ryan, speaking of Italian, there's that little Italian restaurant downtown.
Luigi's?
Maybe. And I just remember how cheap it was for how much food they gave you.
Yeah. And they always keep you with fresh rolls, too.
Oh, man, now I'm getting hungry. We got to make a road trip to North Platte, Ollie.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Get some training in.
I'm not sure what they got going on right now for the Corona. I haven't seen any posts, so I don't even know if they're doing delivery and stuff. So that's too bad.
Yeah. Well, next time we're out there, we'll go have some good Italian with them.
For sure.
I'm down. I'm down. All right, Ryan, second warm-up question. If you could be any superhero, real or made up, so you could be Superman or Super Mac, with any superpower, who would you be and what would your power be?
This is gonna go back to childhood anime fanboy here, but I'd be my own version of a Super Saiyan for sure.
Oh, nice! First Dragon Ball Z one there. Nice. Yes. Oh, nice.
Yeah,
What is that there?
Yeah.
What was that?
Dragon Ball Z tat?
Can you see it? That's Vegeta.
Oh, nice.
And don't you do like a Dragon Ball Z stance at your weigh-ins and stuff?
Yes, I do that, and then when they announce my name too, I shoot a Kamehameha and then throw a head kick to follow it. That's kind of my intro move. Yeah,
Man.
Dude, well, you're definitely well rehearsed for the superpower question.
Right?
That was good.
I love that show, man. Dragon Ball Z is awesome.
That's funny.
It is.
Yeah, Trey's into that stuff too. So, all right, last warm-up question, Ryan. What book are you currently reading, or what has been your favorite book that you've read and that made an impact for you?
The Bible. So I haven't read a lot of the Bible, but I'm just getting into it. One of my really good friends, he's one of my former students, he's autistic and he is studying to be a pastor right now. And so he got me a Christmas present and a birthday present, and both were a study Bible. I'm really blind, so I have a big, large print one, and then he got me a bookmark. So been reading a lot of the Bible.
Oh,
Sure.
wow. Hey, is there a passage or anything that stood out to you on your journey of reflection through that?
I think there's so many I couldn't tell you one off the top of my head, but I'll think about it and I'll send you one for sure.
Yeah, that's good. We just had Pastor Darren on a couple weeks ago
Oh,
with the
nice.
Cowboy Church. Did you get a
Nice. I'll have
chance
to
to go
watch
back?
that one.
Oh man, it's powerful. It's
Nice.
a great story. He's and great things he's doing over there. Ollie, that Bible's right up your alley, my friend.
Yeah, I've definitely done a lot of reading of the Bible as well. I find it interesting though that you have recently
Yeah.
kind of gotten turned on to the Bible, because it's not necessarily an easy read. So
No,
that's pretty cool. You must be taking it seriously.
for sure, for sure.
Now you threw in something there that I found curious. You're blind. You can't see very well.
Yeah, so my eyes are just really bad, and I've I have glasses. My pair that I have recently just broke. So yeah, like I've tried out contacts. I can't even get contacts in my eyes, and back when I was trying to get them, yeah, back when I was trying to get them as a kid, like the eye doctor told me that most of them would just irritate my eyes anyways because they're so bad.
But you were able to see well enough to dodge punches and kicks coming at you.
What? I think that I would have worse range if I like fought with contacts or something in, because I'm so used to where my range is now without being able to see.
That's
Wow.
good. There you go. Little known fact about Ryan MacDonald: he can't actually see what's going on.
Seriously.
Good. Well, let's talk about Ryan. What kind of led you to your purpose in life now?
Um, I'd say there's, a combination of lots of things, but definitely the biggest one is becoming a mixed martial artist and getting in the training room and finding my niche, because without martial arts, I wouldn't have found the my support group, my friends and people I consider family now, my girlfriend I met through fighting. So just really everything is just came through me starting to train and all the good that's came from MMA for sure.
And now, the training and your desire to train, did that come from watching shows like Dragon Ball Z and stuff? Have you always been a martial artist your life, or did that come later in life?
Anime and Dragon Ball Z is definitely like the spark, that make, because all Dragon Ball is about martial arts and training and to become better to like Goku's always trying to uh, fight the toughest warriors, even if they're like mostly they're portrayed as a bad person, but he doesn't see it as that. He doesn't see it as an enemy or a foe. He sees it as just another challenge. Like that's how it's formulated is, and then Vegeta's the opposite way. He feeds off of anger and all that stuff and jealousy, and he's trying to catch Goku. So you see that a lot in the training room too, where you got a guy that's talented and working his butt off, and then you got somebody who's chasing him, where who's jealous of that guy and wants to be that guy. And so you see both angles of those. One guy just trying to be a better martial artist every day, and then one guy trying to catch the other guy.
Yeah, you
So I
definitely
find
see
it.
that. Go ahead, Ollie.
I was gonna say I find it interesting that you gave the archetypes of Goku and Vegeta, and before that you showed us that you have Vegeta on your forearm. So did you have as a young man a lot of anger or envy, jealousy that kind of fueled you to actually take the step and begin training? Tell us a little bit about that.
Definitely. So that's actually what got me into training was me getting into a high school fight over a girl. Ended up getting beat up, and then me and this girl broke up, and I was just so angry at that point in my life. I was just like needed an outlet. Big Rob Mitchell, he had a gym here in North Platte down on the bricks, and I had heard a lot about it and always considered it. And I remember being so mad in class one day because of something somebody said to me about the fight, that I like went to the bathroom, called my mom, and was like, "You got to put me in Rob's class because I need, I'm gonna beat somebody up here in school." Like, I was so angry, you know. And that's kind of how I was in high school. I hung out with a tough crowd. Like all my friends were either Mexican or African American, so I I thought I was tough because I hung out with a tough crowd, and so a lot of people left me alone until I kind of instigated a fight. And then when I instigated that fight, I got beat up, and yeah, it all led to training. Interestingly enough, I got Goku up on my bicep. So
Oh, you got
I feel like
both.
it's a little yin and yang, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And so you start training. So you start training with a specific purpose, right? Like you were going to go, I don't know if you're going to get a rematch with the guy that beat you up in high school, or if you were just like, I'm never getting beat up again.
That's where it was. I'm never getting beat up again. It's how I wanted it to be, It's so angry.
But which is very common. A lot of people come in the gym wanting that. At what point do you remember it switched and you're like, wait a second, there's so much more to this journey. There's so much more that mixed martial arts and being around this group of people brings to my life. When was there a moment when you realized this is something that you're going to build your life around?
Yeah, probably my second amateur fight, honestly, is because that's where I get my nickname from. We were the main event. We were a headliner. I was fighting a hometown kid up in Scottsbluff. And well, I mean, he was from Scottsbluff. We fought in Torrington, Wyoming. It was the first sanctioned event in Wyoming.
Yep.
So I fought him, and he had a big support group there because it's only 30 miles away. And at the end of the fight, I ended up losing a split decision, but the crowd was chanting my name, and me and Will still bullshit about it and laugh it off because he's like, I've never felt so unappreciated in my own hometown.
What'd you think of the judges that night? Did they get it right or wrong?
It was such a tough fight. I think it could have gone either way for sure
Ah,
because he had a lot of submission attempts,
he did.
and towards the end, I had a lot of like I was sprawling on all his takedowns, and then I was like trying to put him away. Like I've never tried to put somebody away more than I did that fight because I knew I was down going into the second and the third because I kind of got my ass whooped the
Yep.
first round. So
Well,
yeah,
it's
I fought
funny,
hard.
man, that we're talking about this because I judged that fight.
Oh really?
Yeah,
had
I
no
was a
clue.
judge when Wyoming launched their commission. They brought a bunch of us
Nice.
from up here, from Colorado, that had been experienced. So yeah, because we were in that little building in Torrington. It's so funny. Remember?
Yeah.
'Cause-
Yep.
yeah. So
That is crazy.
Well, I'm glad you didn't
That's
bash the
awesome.
judges and say like they were blind. They weren't watching them
Yeah,
fight.
what the hell? Bias.
They're idiots. Yeah, no,
That's awesome.
so that might have been where I first crossed paths with you.
Yeah.
And how old were
probably.
you when you did
That
your?
would have to be the first.
How old?
19.
Yeah, you were young. I remember that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny that's the thing I do love about mixed martial arts, and I love about this community is that was what maybe 2000,
2012. I believe.
2012. Wow. And like I
Yeah.
still stay in contact with you. I see Will quite a bit at different
Yeah.
circles, and it's just good relationship. So after that second fight, you were like, "This is what I'm doing."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Ryan,
Yeah.
tell us, I'm curious to know kind of that journey from 19, right? Second fight to now you're 27 years old, You've been to the UFC, the pinnacle of fighting. You have your own gym. You're a coach. But that journey along the way, I mean, it has to be so difficult. I know amateur fighters don't make that much money, and it's a very demanding sport. You got to put in a lot of time, a lot of hours, and it costs not only money but time to train. You can get injured. How did you manage that with income, with training to get to where you are today?
So it, yeah, it's not easy, and I had 15 amateur fights, so it was definitely a lot of struggle, and I was at a lot of different jobs. At one point, I was gonna get up and move to California before I had made my pro debut. Um, so like I was already kind of in between on if I wanted to, do it from home, and everybody was, sitting here saying, you need to leave this place if you want to be successful, because that's kind of how we are in North Platte as a community, which is one of the things I hate the most about it. Is there's not a lot of hope for athletes from home. If you stay here and you try to make it, a lot of the whole time the people are, kind of doubting you and don't think you can do it, even if you're doing fight camps elsewhere and training your butt off and doing online seminars and all kinds of stuff like that. The hometown people are just like, man, I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can do it type of hope, right? So it was definitely, they would push that on me, and I was a really influential kid. Like I was easily influenced, and so they were making me have those doubts, and the gym I was from, there wasn't a lot of instructing going on. It was just, it felt like a business, and there was, up until I didn't travel up until like my 8th amateur fight or so. And then once I got out and traveled and started actually drilling some real techniques and sequences for striking, and some wrestling, and like mixed in with the MMA stuff, because we would always do, at the other gym, we would always do, striking classes and jiu-jitsu classes. A lot of the striking classes would be either just sparring, or the grappling classes would just be rolling. There wasn't a lot of drilling going on. And then when I got outside of training in the gym, I was like, wow, this is a whole new, type of ball game. This is what I've needed the whole time: actual instruction from coaching and stuff like that. And ever since it was one of my buddies here in the regional scene. His name's Jesus Sandoval, and he extended his hand. He was like, in Kearney, he said, hey, come out and train with us in Kearney. And then once I trained in Kearney, then I just, it opened my eyes to what I needed to learn. And because most of the time I was just watching YouTube videos and doing the whole YouTube guru type stuff, and just floated around and learned as much as I could, all while maintaining a full-time job. I worked at a bunch of different places. One, probably the worst one for me, was a door factory here in town. It was miserable, dude. I worked there for about 6 months, and every day it was just back-breaking. That's probably why I got back issues, to be honest, because you're just huddled over a workstation building these doors, and you're bent over for 10 hours a day.
Dang.
So,
And
yeah.
I think what you talked about there, Ryan, is very relatable to our On Purpose community, in that your initial circle, even though you had this dream to be the UFC fighter and to be one of the best in the world, people around you were still trying to hold you back, right? Telling you, oh, you're from North Platte, you can't do it, you got to leave to get this success or that success. And we talk about that a lot in our circle of 5, right? Like, who are the people you're spending time with, and are they building you up for your dreams, or are they tearing you down and holding you back? So was there a part of you, though, that when you made it to the UFC and you've accomplished your dream, was was proud that you stayed in North Platte and showed everybody that you could do it?
Yeah, 100%. You know, it's funny because um, we have a lot of good fighters. North Platte, we put out Ryan Schultz. He's born and raised. I love Ryan to death. Everybody here, when they talk about Ryan, they talk about the baddest man in North Platte. Like still to this day, they're like, if you gave Ryan a dirty look back in the day, like you're getting beat up. You're getting yeah, yeah. And he still has that reputation. He's just the baddest man. And then we have Luke Cadillo, who came
Yep.
from out of here, and those guys, in a sense, were smart to go and settle in Colorado and do their thing because, now they just get so much worship from North Platte, and I'm happy for them. They've earned it. They deserve that. Uh, and then you got guys like me who stay here and are loyal to the community and try to build it up, and I still kind of get some shit for it, and it's like, man, I wish you guys would just open your eyes and realize what we're trying to build here, and build a fight community, a fight team, and it's definitely, at first it was way worse, but now we've kind of grown a really good team, and we got a handful of different belts on the mat. So in jiu-jitsu we got a purple belt, we got blue belts, handful of white belts. So it's growing, definitely.
Yeah, and I think what's that saying, right? It's always impossible until somebody does it, and
Yeah.
and I would just encourage you not to doubt yourself. Like, you're bringing hope to that community. You're showing what's possible for the little kid that doesn't know which way they want to go. And you weren't from a traditional mixed martial arts background, right? Like, you weren't wrestling your whole life. Like, this is something that you found out a need and turned into a passion. So I think that's a great lesson for our audience is you never know when something's going to turn into a passion. You don't know when it's going to lead to life-changing events. But if you never take a chance and try things, you're going to be stuck where you're at.
100%. And that's why I tell everybody from here, if they want something done, go build it.
Yeah.
Like, like I hear a lot of complaints about kids don't have nothing to do here. And people say, well, we need like a trampoline place or a skate rink. And it's like, those people that are saying that, they just need to go build it.
Yeah.
They need to put something forth and extend their hand to help out the community for sure.
So Ryan, I think your story is very empowering and hopeful in a sense for people that feel like they may be starting too late, right? It's really rare to hear of guys that didn't start training until high school that make it to the UFC. A lot of UFC fighters have been wrestling since they were super young. They have a lot of experience. So can you tell us a little bit about the work that it really took? I mean, how many days a week were you training when you started? What did that path to the UFC look like for you?
So I definitely have to kind of give some thanks to my first actual coach, which is Dale Hall. He's North Platte highest wrestling coach. I didn't wrestle, but I wrestled my senior year, and it was after I started martial arts. I wrestled my senior year, did about 2 wrestling meets, both on JV, of course, and I ended up getting ringworm and getting MRSA. Yeah, I
Oof.
had that newbie skin,
Yeah.
the virgin skin,
Hmm.
and and got all those skin infections. And every time I'd get back on the mat, I would end up getting it again. So I ended up not being able to wrestle for the rest of the season. But I ended up wrestling a couple wrestling meets, and it was such a humbling experience. And he was such a great coach, and so that was my first kind of role model. And then after that, I just started doing whatever it took. At first, when I was training at the other gym, I trained there for about 2 months, and it ended up closing down. The one that I went to had my mom pay for, and trained, or it closed down in about 2 months. And then after I graduated, so I was basically just training on a tarp in my backyard with a bunch of buddies who enjoyed it as well. And then we were, just watching YouTube. And that's actually how I got my start in coaching, because I would watch a video and I'd show all my buddies, and then we'd kind of drill it. And then I heard about a gym opening up at the DNN event center, trained there. But it was just a bunch of guys in a room for a long time. Nobody was an instructor. Nobody was taking that lead role of putting class schedules together. It was just open mat, everybody come in, whatever you want to do, you can do. There's a lot of guys just hitting the bag. It felt like a boxing gym in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a lot of structure. Couple months down the road, Brad Garrick actually started running classes. He started structuring classes, started to learn a little bit from him. And then ever since then, it was just kind of like train every day, do what I can. And then I learned most of my lessons through fighting, because I got to a certain point to where, again, we weren't really drilling stuff. I wasn't really learning anything else from live rolling. And then I would lose a match in a fight and realize, oh, what do I need to do better based off of how I got beat?
I love it.
And then all the way up until my 8th amateur fight, when I went on to train with that Jesus, my buddy in Kearney, and then just training everywhere from then on.
I love that. So that's a great point, right? Like, you took your losses not as an opportunity to quit or to back away or to believe that people told you it's not possible, right? The audience, you need to understand what Ryan's telling you. He was literally training when he started on a tarp in a backyard, believing in himself, and he reaches the pinnacle of his profession.
It's amazing.
So you're training, like, you're putting in hours and hours, and I know you started bouncing around and going a lot of different places for a lot of different looks to improve your knowledge. So what was that feeling the first time you make the walk to the UFC Octagon and you hear Buffer introduce you?
Man, it was like surreal in a sense, but it was like a lack of focus, honestly. I was just like so overwhelmed with the show. I was just like, oh, this is so cool. And I was like looking cage side. I'm pretty sure, I think it was Daniel Cormier was announcing or commentating my fight. So I'm looking cage side. I'm giving them head nods and having what you're supposed to do, have fun with it, and enjoy it and take it in. But then I realized once after my name got announced, I was like, oh yeah, there's the reason we're here. Because I look across the cage at Chris Gutierrez, and I was like, oh, okay, that's the reason we're here.
Yeah, this guy wants to hurt me.
Exactly.
Why does he look so angry at me? Does he know we're gonna have fun?
Exactly. And so I had to like snap into it, like all of a sudden, other than just having fun. I was like, oh, now it's real.
Yeah, dude, that's I can only imagine that feeling, having not made it to that level. To see, like, right there before you, your dream literally came true.
For sure.
Man, that's so incredible, Ryan. Because I mean, you see in the amateur circuits, you got state wrestling champions, you got Division I wrestlers, you got so many people that have this background of experience that never make it there. So you said every day you were training 7 days a week when you got into this.
Definitely. If it wasn't training, it was thinking about training. Like, that was 100% what was on my mind all the time. Like, there was certain times where I like worked for a furniture business, and we'd be out of town doing a long trip to deliver furniture, and I wouldn't be back in time to train, right? But after that, after I get off work, I had mats in my basement, so I was rolling around just doing solo drills by myself, and always constantly thinking about fighting and thinking about MMA and thinking about martial arts as a whole, shadow boxing. I remember a time when we were on a route for Coors. I worked for Coors Distributing here in North Platte, and I was just shadow boxing in the truck. And Brandon Bringwatt, he's actually a fighter too,
Yeah, I
and
know
he
Brandon.
looked at me. Yeah, and he looked at me and he's like, "Man, you look clean just when you're shadow boxing." Like, and I was just seated, shadow boxing, and he's like, and I was like, "Yeah, I do a lot of it in the mirror." So it was just learning when even I what didn't have the opportunity to. I was just
Yeah.
constantly thinking about it.
Yeah, I think for our listeners, it's an opportunity to be reminded that it's never too late to start a goal. And it sounds like you had what a lot of motivational speakers say you need to reach that top level of success in a certain area is that obsession, right? That it was always on your mind, that you were thinking about it every day. If you weren't doing it, you were thinking about it and you were obsessed. Because I would love to see the statistics, the odds of somebody starting martial arts their senior year in high school to make it to the UFC. I mean, I'm sure the odds are so small. That's amazing, man.
Thank you.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
even think you have to qualify it that deep. Just what are the odds of how many people are on the UFC roster? Like it's less than like 500, I believe. What are the odds that anybody that ever fights makes it to that level, regardless when they start training, right? And so many people see all the limits around him, right? It would be easy for Ryan to have followed his buddies that are like, oh, we're from a small town. We can't do it coming out of here. You got to move. But the truth is, you can make it what you want, right? And one of the things I loved about you, Ryan, and it always kind of stood out to me that you were different, was you were probably one of the least selfish fighters I've ever come across. I mean, even when you were going to seek extra training for yourself, right, because you're still chasing your dream, I always remember you always brought people from North Platte with you.
Yeah, definitely.
You always included other people in your journey, and I think that is such a rewarding thing to know that you're impacting other people, but also you're now creating, instead of you just seeing what's possible, you got 4 or 5 guys with you to see what's possible. And then if they take somebody with them, now you got 20 people seeing what's possible, and you're slowly starting to shift culture. And sometimes we shy away from that. Sometimes we shy away from having these great dreams and these great ideas because of what everybody's going to think about us. And here you bucked what people were thinking. You went opposite, and then you included a bunch of other people so now they can see what's possible. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I applaud you for that. And that's something that always stuck out to me, was just how unselfish you actually were.
Yeah, that's a lot of the reason why I'm still here. I found a lot of friendships and love and the, uh, the friends that I built through fighting and the camaraderie and these guys, they're my roommates. They're my, Taylor and David, you met both those guys. Yep. They're my roommates, and I'm both, trying to coach them and be their training partner and encourage them. And, and I think the best coach leads from, the front. He's going to lead by example,
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do the same stuff that you're doing because I know how hard it is. And like we can both achieve it together. And I'm not going to leave you to do it by yourself. You can learn through my mistakes, because I've made too many mistakes in MMA. You know what I mean? And there's never, that's the thing, is there's never too many mistakes. And I'm just trying to help them make less of them by learning through me. And that's still my goal right now, is to one day become a world champion. And once I accomplish that or don't, I'm going to coach a world champion. And guys like Jason, guys like Taylor, they're the guys. They trust me, and they trust themselves, and they have that same kind of will and passion for the sport and obsession. And so they're going to go a long way too. And I think that some people, where if they see that somebody else has that, I don't think that they should shy away from those people. I think that's who they should keep around them. They should surround themselves by those type of people that are just as obsessive as they are.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The other thing that stood out to me, Ryan, when I met you a while back was your openness to talk about your brother. I can't remember if it was an event we were at where you spoke to the crowd. I think they might have been raising some money for like a suicide awareness prevention type. I think it actually was a fight show that maybe Russ put on.
Yeah.
And we were doing, you did a little talk. So would you kind of share with us that story and how that plays into you being relentless in your pursuit of your dreams?
Yeah. So I lost my brother due to suicide about 2 years ago now. I'm not sure the exact date. But it was, really abrupt, and it was, never expect those type of things. I mean, even if somebody's depressed, I grew up with them, my entire life, and that was my, mentor, my first real role model, I think, is your big brother, at some point. And he, you've seen him go through a lot of adversity in life, and so you just don't expect, them to take their own life, especially without coming to you for, advice before that, because, we've talked about a lot of stuff, and I've vented, when I've had my struggles, and, he's vented to me. So, it was just really odd that it, just came to that. And I got a call from my mom one afternoon. I was training for what was supposed to be my first kind of UFC debut. I was supposed to fight on the Contender Series, and it was about 2 weeks before that. I got a call from my mom, and I just finished up training, and I was laying down just resting, and my roommate came in because apparently she was calling me, and I must have been. I'm pretty sure I didn't have minutes on my phone because uh, I'm kind of lazy when it comes to that. Like, I don't refill my phone because we have Wi-Fi, and sometimes you just like to be left alone, especially in fight camp. And so I my roommate came in, and he said, "Hey, it's your mom." And you could tell she was like, I could hear her screaming just on the phone before he had even handed it to me. And so, I got the phone, and she said, "Your brother's dead. Kyle's dead." And that's all she could say. She had showed up to his house worried about him, and showed up to it. So we obviously rushed right over. And then shortly after, my middle brother, my other older brother, I'm the youngest of three. He was there too. He had got there a little bit later. But my stepdad had went in, and thankfully he was the only one to see my brother hanging. But he said, "Colleen, don't come in here," and then like kind of rushed out and grabbed her, and told her the situation, and obviously they were crying, and gave us a call, and then we all just kind of sat there, and you know just cherished each other, and helped each other through that time when the ambulance came and picked him up, and it was just one of those moments that you'll never forget. It's till this day the worst moment I've ever had to live in my life. Um, you're calling, your family, my dad, my grandparents, you're giving everybody the heads up, and it's just a really tough thing to go through for sure.
And when did you, one, we're sorry that you guys went through that. Obviously, nobody ever wants to go through that. But when did you know that you could actually speak about this and use that as a way to impact, especially like in North Platte, where, like you shared earlier, it's easy for people to see what's not possible, to think this is all life has to offer. I can't do what I want to do. When did you realize that like sharing this story could help somebody else maybe not follow that path or just seek help?
Well, I think if I would have heard a story similar,
Mm-hmm.
or of something somebody else went through, like a family like that, I would have been a little bit more sensitive to it. I would have maybe thought I need to check on my loved ones more. Maybe I would have, you know, cherished each moment with, another person and my family and my friends, a little bit more. Um, but I just didn't picture that ever happening. Um, and so like it was just one of those things that once I realized that it could have maybe a little alleviation of the hurt that I went through, if I would have known that my story or somebody else's story could have helped me, then that's why I start to push the story and help people go put themselves in my shoes for a moment, just so that they can you know cherish their loved ones and realize how precious life is.
Yeah, and I think one, I thank you for sharing that story, because I know a lot of people at times will suffer in silence, and they'll think they're the only ones that feel this way and nobody else does, when a lot of people feel that way. And two is, at least Ali and I have found this, like, we get so many comments from the On Purpose community about, oh, this story really touched me, or that. Well, it's good for us too, right? When we share our stories, it's how we process and it's how we move forward. So thank you for sharing that with us, Ryan.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things that he was just like me in a sense, to where my brother's really hardworking. Like, he'll stay at a job for, he'll work for the man for as long as he needs to. My middle brother Adam, but my oldest brother Kyle, he was just like me, and he had put every dollar into his passions, and that instilled a lot of hope for me. He was a recording artist. He could play guitar, he could rap, he could sing. He was just very talented, and he moved out to Colorado for a while to pursue a dream, and it didn't really work for him, and he had to end up coming back. And I think that did a lot, uh, to his mental illnesses. I think when he didn't achieve that dream, it hurt him a lot, and he still kept pushing forward with trying to make music here locally. But just people around here are not really into the hip hop stuff. They're not really into metal. He played it all. He played reggae, he played metal, he rapped hip hop. He did it all. And not a lot of people got behind it around here. And that's one thing that hurt me, because a lot of people get behind me uh, for fighting, and the community has been awesome to me. Like, I wouldn't have a gym if it wasn't for North Platte's community getting behind me. But it's a little bittersweet, because they never did that for him, and that he took a lot of hurt from that. You could tell there was a couple of fights. I think really he only came to two of my fights, because he was a little envious of it to a certain degree. He was, because he had his own dreams and his own goals, and my family, not to say that they didn't believe in him, but they just knew that it was a tough road, just like they did me. I've had arguments with my mom. One time I moved back in with my mom because I got really sick, and she argued with me, and she said, you need to get a job, and maybe this isn't going to work for you, the sport. She So my family's really real with us, and he was definitely a tender heart, and a lot of stuff affected him more than you know say it would me. So
Sure.
it's a tough thing to look back on, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, man. As an older brother, I can't imagine, So my heart goes out to you and your family, and I want to say thank you for sharing your story with us, and that you know, I'm proud of you for sharing that story and trying to empower others. um, when you think back on that and when you share the story, what is your what is the takeaway that you want others to learn from the experience that you had with that?
I would definitely say just to, check on the people you love and you know, listen to people, and try to see the signs and like as much as mental health is kind of like not talked about, it's kind of shunned in a sense for some to some degree. It's getting talked about a lot more, but it definitely needs to be talked about more than that, because everybody goes through it. You guys know,
Mhm.
you've been through some tough stuff as well, and there's not a single person that isn't going through those battles. I don't care if you have $1 million in your bank account, like you're struggling somehow, so I think we all need to do stuff like this and vent. And, in a sense, this is me venting to you guys. So thank you for the opportunity. You know, it's,
Yeah.
it's letting, it's letting me get some steam off and letting me deal with my, mental health and stuff like that.
Well, I think that's the key, right? We're always in a process there. I think for some reason, somewhere along the lines, we think like you have a crisis, maybe a mental health crisis. You get treatment for it, and then you're over it, and it never comes back, or you move on. And that's not the case, right? Like our brain is a muscle, just like our body, and we're constantly programming it, we're constantly stretching it, we're constantly learning. So, yeah, it's an ongoing process. And I think one of the keys you said there, Ryan, was actually listen to people, right? Actually
Definitely.
listen and slow down and hear what they're saying and what are they not saying through body language and stuff. So now,
Well, one thing
go ahead.
one quote that I've heard is, listen to digest, not listen uh, to answer back. Something along those lines. Like, don't listen just to talk to answer their question or whatever, but listen to actually digest it, and then answer the question. Like a lot of
Yep.
people are just listening to what you say to say yes or no, or yeah, it'll be okay, or whatever, but listen to digest it, think it through, process it, and then answer their question, answer whatever.
Yeah. And I think for us, there's a great book that really helped me a lot with that. It's called The Way of the Superior Man. And it talks about masculine and feminine energy, and that a lot of times masculine energy, we try to answer questions that aren't even asked, right? We try to fix each other's problems. They're like, oh man, here's what you should do, or here's what you should do here. Especially with feminine energy, a lot of times people just need us to listen and not even say anything, and I think that's one of the most powerful things that we can do for each other is just to be there to be an active listener, and maybe not even answer the questions, but to ask more questions and give that opportunity a person to speak. And you're thanking us for the opportunity, but I want to thank you for the opportunity to ask you questions and for you to come forth and share your story, because this is just as much of a therapeutic effect on us as it is for you and any of our guests. And I'm just really grateful to be here with you and Jared and have this opportunity, because everyone that comes on, it's always really powerful to just to listen and be able to converse and see what people have learned on their journey. And that's definitely a very powerful story and a very powerful reminder. I'm gonna give my brother a call right after this, man.
Good. Yeah, that's one of the things I said to my roommate, man, is when I came back, only one of my roommates um, had learned or had known about the whole situation, and I went downstairs and Taylor had his little brother with him, and I said, give him a hug, tell him that you love him right now because I just lost mine, and I would give anything in the world to do that.
So
And then
I want to know,
go ahead.
Ryan, how is that experience going to make you a better coach for people?
Through coaching, I'm sure you've experienced this, Jared, is you don't know what you signed up for a little bit. You didn't know you're going to be a therapist, but you're damn near it. And when I signed up to be a coach, man, like everybody comes to me, and I'm glad. Like at first I was overwhelmed by it. I was like, wow, like there's so many issues going on with people, but that's everybody. That's life, and I'm glad that I can be there for my fighters and my students, and yeah, it's very similar. Like I talk to so many people and let them vent to me, and I do what I can to help them, and yeah, being a coach is huge to help, you know, all those people. It makes you a better coach in that regard. And then when you know somebody on a personal level, I think it's easier to coach them, I'd say.
For sure.
When you know somebody on a personal level, you can relate to different stuff, to what they got going on. Say they used to be like I'm wearing a basketball hoodie right now because I played basketball in high school for 2 years. So I can make basketball analogies to the basketball players, or certain stuff like that, just by knowing them personally.
Yeah, and I think that is a great way to honor your brother and his memory, is by being the person to all those that look to you, right? Truly listening and coaching and investing in them. And maybe, Ali and I are big in believing that everything happens for a reason. And kind of like what you said earlier, Ryan, like your losses are meant to teach you something. Okay, I got to work on this. And I think that's one of the greatest things you can do as a coach, right? Because to me, that's the epitome. The greatest blessing somebody can give you is when they call you coach, because not only are you making them better in a skill area or a trade, but you're invested in their life. And
Yep.
that's a responsibility I think too many people take lightly and don't understand the importance that role plays. And now you have a whole nother perspective to relate to your students, and quite honestly, to be able to look out and be like, okay, something's changing here. Maybe I need to listen more to this person or invest in them.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And it's just like you said, it's one of the most fulfilling things, is once somebody you've been coaching for a while, the first time they call you coach, it's almost like, I'm sure it's a similar feeling to when you're a stepdad and your stepson calls you dad. I feel like it's a similar feeling. It's a really fulfilling, um, emotional thing. When somebody calls you coach, yeah, you just like kind of have to not acknowledge it, but it's like, oh yeah, that guy respects me now, and we're on a good page.
Yeah, I agree. And what I love about it is that you got to continue to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like if you're going to coach somebody, that means you're continuing to earn it. That means you're earning their trust, their respect. You're continuing to push them to be better.
It's my little wiener dogs.
That's funny.
Mm.
Come here, Dojo.
So Ryan,
Dojo.
as
Yoshi.
what are they? Sorry.
Yoshi?
Yoshi, yep.
Nice.
So Ryan, as we wrap up this very powerful episode for our listeners, what are a couple takeaways you'd want them to get from this episode, or that you would encourage them to utilize to find their true purpose in life?
You know, try, if you don't have a something like a passion, if you don't have a passion, find one. Try different things, and you can have multiple different passions, because that will ultimately lead you into knowing, giving you a purpose in life. And uh, yeah, just it'll lead you to so many good things, a good community, a good family, friends, and so there's so many different things, and things that you can enjoy in life, and you just have to find them, and it's a hard thing to say right now, because we can't really do too much, but go out and find those things once this virus stuff is over with and we're done quarantining. Go out there and try different things. Watch videos, check out all kinds of different stuff if you need to find a passion, and if you're in Fort Collins, check out Trials, man. I'm rocking a Trials shirt under my hoodie right now.
Yeah.
Nice shameless plug.
Right. Yeah. Go check out Trials. I always love enjoying going down there, and I'll definitely be back here soon, shortly. So, martial arts and just from watching your guys' videos, it shows me, it gives me hope for my gym, because like I try to model what we got going on after what Trials has going on. So I can't remember what's your student's name that put on that video, because it was awesome.
Oh, Nate Block.
Yes, that was such a good video, and I love just watching the coaches talk, and it's super inspiring. So
we appreciate it. I think that's maybe that might be the lesson for this whole episode for people is, like, I had no idea Ryan was patterning his gym in North Platte, Nebraska after what we're doing in Fort Collins, Colorado. But if we don't share our story, if we don't take risk and make videos that people might think are dumb or, that may not work, then he never even has an opportunity to learn from what we've done. And
right.
For a lot of our community, we'll hide from our story. We'll play it safe. We'll stay shy. And the truth is, you don't know who's waiting for that story. You don't know who's going to be watching, and what you're doing may help them change their lives. So I appreciate the compliment. And man, coaching people is the greatest honor you can have, whether it's on the podcast, in the gym, in life in general. And Ryan, you keep doing what you're doing, man. Like, the kids in North Platte, they're rough, tough. It's a great town, and they need hope, dude, and that's what you bring them.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And likewise to you guys. I'm super inspired by the both of you, and you're both go-getters, and I watch Ali's stories daily, and you crack me up, brother. So they're awesome.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story. Definitely inspired.
All right, so Ryan, real quick, if our audience wants to connect with you further, wants to support you, get behind you, and join the Main Event Mac Freight Train, how do they reach you, buddy?
On Facebook, I am at Main Event Mac, and then on Instagram and Twitter, I'm at Main Event_Mac. So
very cool. Awesome, Ryan. Thanks so much for joining us, my friend, and we look forward to seeing big things from you in the future.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
All right, team, as we wrap up another episode of the On Purpose podcast, we are thankful for having you all on our journey. We want to announce new ways to include you and let you go deeper into our community. First off, we got the onpurposepodcast.com website where you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter, get inside tips, and see what's coming up in the upcoming months. As well as our new launch is our Patreon account. We have 5 tiers where you can decide at what level you want to contribute to the podcast and the community, help support us, continue to push us forward and grow. And it's as little as 50 cents an episode, or $2 a month, all the way up to $50 a month, depending on where you want to be. Perks of this are sneak peek episodes. You get the episodes quicker. You get to contribute on episodes. You get monthly Q&As with Ali and I and special guests. And you get to be a building block for our community as we continue to grow worldwide. With the release of Shelly Davies' episode, we are now international. And we're excited for where the future leads us. So please fit in with us wherever you are comfortable. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We'll see you next week.